After burning the remains of the Draconequest's body and gathering all the evidence needed for her case, Vinci Rams, a Techlaw squire, and a steward apprentice made their way to the city of Atad. This was part of the terms and conditions the artist had to perform to restore her role as Artisan Steward and regain her magic paintbrush. Carrying the skull in between her arms, Vinci kept quiet most of the journey, unless the matter of politics was brought up, which is not a pleasant experience for all, especially for the two young novices.
Political escorts. I'm sorry, but that's what I see you two as. For a quarter of a day's journey, and yet you two still watch over me. Nothing more. It's because people always assume that I'll just turn and run. Then again, I had mentioned to the council multiple times that I was left alone most of the time during the coma. The stewards were so preoccupied with helping our northwestern neighbors on the other side of the wall, for it was a time of desperation and panic here in the Arb. Why wasn't I involved in the development and the repairs of those lands? Nah, I'm an artist. I don't get involved with politics with too much paperwork or too many bibliophile individuals who organize and plan everything without imagination or understanding the Thalamian people and their culture. Poof. And it requires a weight limit capability. And paper can be heavy. Wrong. I'm well read. But most of the places I visited are usually faraway lands, presented and open to the traveler, depending on the bushel of essence and crops of the season. People in the western parts of Niarb, especially those of the nation of Corinth, focus more on what is in the term real information. Such prejudice, if you ask me. You are a curious girl. An example. This book. What I currently have in my hand, along with a few others similar to it, is a key. For the essence wielder to detect and open any portals, any steward, like yours truly, collects this essence from the world or dimensions that it is resided. It is then safely kept in our preserves and our vaults, such as the attached library, along with the sister locations all over the continent in case of a time of need. Think of it like a crop rotation. Taking a fifth of it, store it underground, then give it back to the people when crisis occurs. Think the maker that the citizens are leaning more toward the old ways over using cryomagnus forms of growing essence over Tecrium. I'm sure you already know that, though, lass. I see. Tell me something. Was Lord Abnon your master? I didn't know him personally, but he was respected among the political representatives, especially when it came to affairs between the stewards and the royal family. He even sponsored my brief separation before he crossed. I swear he did it to make Hindras frazzled, along with giving the Knight Commander a lot of grief. Wow, you were awfully quiet, lad. I think this is the first time I've ever heard you speak all day since being at my cottage doorstep. You seem to be brewing questions in that big brain of yours. Generally, as Knight Commander, Zontrail could take me to the capital for a real trial, since I was formerly caught up with other associates that had questionable integrity. So, we could say these past couple of years have been a challenge, especially after the events of the Great Coma. I see. The silent types are always the ones that try to draw the most attention. Well, it worked. But where did you originally come from, dear lad? Ah, the traditional country boy needs to get out of the small town and into the bigger world by joining the military. Cliché, I know, but still admirable. Ah, here we are, the city of Atad. And there is the great library, right where I left it. After only a few weeks, it felt more like a decade. Come on, let's go find Lord Rogers, get these books returned, and give him the orb to engrave my contact information on.
Atad was a modest city with a wide range of various homes that surrounded a large citadel that most would be mistaken as a palace. Its grand library is the place for storing valuable essence and pieces of information. It happened to also be a place of gathering for the high houses. The library had Gothic-inspired towers with various forms of modern styles that looked to be either of this land or the many realms beyond the Lamis. After walking through the streets and markets of the city, Vinchi and the two young associates walked through the heavy wooden doors that were about 10 feet tall and with various symbols carved into them. The numerous hallways are made of marble and stone, with various tall paintings framed by gems in place of wooden frames. Many of these paintings are windowing gateways to other worlds or dimension that, as Vinci mentioned, only the essence that has been provided from the course of the continent can open to retrieve. Various individuals have come and gone into some of these paintings, many of the stewards carrying multiple objects. Even some Teklars were seen dragging away various individuals with their hands clasped behind their backs, many of them attesting their innocence. After 5 minutes of walking, the trio stopped at the grey door with a placard display the name of the individual that they were looking for.
Be warned. In this office, Rogers is one of the few librarians and keepers that can be very klepto when it comes to various works and objects. And he is very good at hiding and unearthing things that may or may not be critically important. Try to hold it together. Unlike most stewards, Lord Rogers was and still can be undetectable in and out of the mission fields. He knows what mission is appropriate based upon his experience and observation of others inside and out. He's also known to be an expert trader. Not really, lass. If you're nice to him, he's mostly pleasant to be around for conversations and can give you great advice, even at the cost of random junk. Well, boy. Don't say I didn't warn you. Well, if it's to any consolation, this is the most organized I've seen of it. Rogers? Lord Rogers? Hello? Anybody home? I'm back from the depths and I'm not alone if the council needs to know. Wait here. Rogers! A little help here if you need it.
I'm under here.
Where?
In the bag.
Which one?
The one near the Silver Flames book.
Yeah. I always knew one day your junk would eat you alive.
Good to see you again as well, Vinchi. You look a lot better after that last trial. I assumed you brought back the resources and the windowing orbs to keep you from the madness. Ooh, thank you. A pleasure to meet you both. You, lass, I recognized in the halls when you were formerly mentored by Abin. He was a man that made sure that all of his apprentices could write in a clear format when it came to reports. Indeed, I read them. I believe your last one was about a magical city with various creatures in a modern setting. I felt so bad for you, lass. One of the most boring areas to monitor. Shame. Oh, I'm usually very discreet when wandering between resources in various parts of the library.
Along with being a kleptomaniac on any trash or useless items that need rescuing.
Oh, it's in my nature, my dearest friend. How many banded forms of essence have I rescued from the trash heap that the council seems to...
Do you still want the orbs, or do I need to inform Lady Lupin of the raids of books that have disappeared from her rubbish bin, along with the jewelry that...
Hey, the last thing I need is for that dragon of a woman to be hunting me down, confiscating and burning all my resources. Morrigan Lupin, as clearly established earlier, is a dragonet hut with the cunning grace of a fox. She is so close-minded that she rejects knowledge that could benefit the people of Thalmus. Also, she's a jerk.
Do I detect a bit of loathing against the woman of Cerbus?
Oh, it's not loathing. It's knowing. From experience after my internship with that witch of a...
She caught you trying to steal her table scraps and she owed you money for tutoring help.
The essence of trash at the seminary was like eating tofu. It lacked flavor, used very little, and not useful to satisfy the mind, the soul, and the stomach. The latter is just as important as it takes food to fuel the mind and strengthen the soul, leading to the individual being able to eat for life.
By the Maker's Mane, you don't even work with her anyways.
But she finds ways to give my library a cleanse. Remember what happened during the Harvest Festival? And I suddenly lost my bingo card? She knew I was bound to win. I happen to have a massive office that contains tools, information, and select artifacts, lad. They benefit the nation's stewards greatly if in dire need of a miracle that I have to help the sap in need. Speaking of which, you got what I needed, you romantic-loving sap?
Yes? And why do you keep calling me that? Here. Are you sure that you and the Weaver are not related? She has more junk in that small cottage than your office.
That creature was a stuff of nightmares.
Anyways, a handful of acorns, a fountain pen, 3 blood rubies, a bowl, a staff, a helmet, and a bag that is Rogers? Why do you want this back if you already have a duplicate? 'Cause if you are going down that route,
Relax. This is a duplicate. But it's designed to have one at hand. Now, before I tell you the purpose of it, let's just wait until after the meeting with the council before we cross that bridge and give this to you.
Being cryptic, are we? Anyways, Reese and all the court send their regards and blessing. And the Weaver still has your claw marks.
She had it coming for wanting to turn my fur and making knows what into thread and places in that weaving loom. I have a family, you know. Technically, lad, at the time when I encountered the Weaver, we were not supposed to interfere with that dimension to retrieve the essence there. Shifting the planned course of that cannon trail would lead to disastrous results. A huge mess to clean. And way too much paperwork to file after the fact.
The cannon trail is a fancy name for those that help us distribute essence across that plain and into Nearb. This is essential for shipping contractors, travelers, and others. To make a new trail without any approval of the council has its protocol on how to repair that realm and deal with the damage control process.
Still got punished for it, though. 4 months of desk duty? Huh. Horrible. I mean, that is true, and it helped me stop and tinker with many artifacts that I had collected over the years. Most of them are being used in missions currently by other stewards. Mostly weapons, books, items of all sorts. Food, even. Whatever is needed. Usually I would transport those items myself with the little telchium supplements, but with everything that's going on right now, I can't simply use it all the time. And I can't just window everywhere with all the harvests coming in, along with the essence shortage going on in the nation and all the bookkeeping
and collecting the ugly pieces of essence from the harvest. Mostly to please the people of the city and the nation, to let them know that the harvest is worth their hard work. Even without the support of the Tekkasun making it grow quickly, the essence would taste at least honest. Tekkasun is a substitutional form of essence of unnatural and unknown origins that are not of this world. Its energy managed to fertilize the mass amounts of bushels needed to provide for the entire continent.
Ever since Lord Bardock limited the amount of Texion needed, people have been swarming to the library for resources, even with the limitations that Knight Commander Zontri had placed on the stores with the Council's policies. People will grow even more desperate to have any source of income like food and essence. Think of the essence that we all gather from an orchard. It may have a singular function that one could just eat, throw the core, and forget about it later. Yet, it has the potential to be part of so much more. It can bring pies, strengthen meats, be dehydrated into tea, etc. To where it is no longer titled just an apple. Essence sharpens the minds of the people, strengthening the land, whether they realize it or not. One can gain so much from one misshapen bushel. I found this book near the rubbish bin a decade ago. Not a foul smell, not even a bruise or a crack on it. It was just thrown out due to the black, gold, and white with some violet coloring on it. Most of the stewards couldn't identify the world from which the essence was formed. Seeing the potential benefits from another world, I took it, and I merged into it, seeing places I never anticipated visiting. It made me strengthen my views for the good of my library. Made lasting friendships there, too. And I came out with one lesson. I always tell my students, knowledge and books are the dreams that one holds in their hands.
He's more than a trash-collecting bibliophile, lass,
Says the artist that drank so much hot bean juice that it may as well be her registered blood type. One man's trash is another clan's treasure. That's the code of the Rogers family.
I will admit, it's good to be in this library again, with less Teklar influence.
I wish I could say it's been all prickly pears and roses. There have been a lot of debates and meetings that have been fierce from all the surrounding countries, especially from Corinth. They have been demanding more essence from us.
Given how much we need to produce for our people, and given King Amron being ill, people are as nervous as a goose in a pillow factory.
And you wonder why I avoid politics like the coma. Nah, I knew I liked these two for a reason. Surprised though that the Lord Bardock and the Knight Commander Zantriel sent these greenhorns to oversee you, Vinchi.
I noticed that you two barely spoke a word to one another, though, even as we traveled together. Even so, it's unnatural to have a pairing of such contrasts. The only person who would suggest such a thing is probably...
Yep. This has Hindras' scent all over it. That explains why I found most of your books and knickknacks outside your office.
Wait! You're telling me that he took over my study? My studio?
I managed to save all but the empty sketchbooks. The Teklas have confiscated them until further notice. I'm sorry.
I should have known that Hindras would have nosed his way in there to make his nest.
Wish I could say speak of the angel. Here he comes.
Well, let the heavens rejoice. The tainted prodigal steward has decided to join the rest of us mortals. Hello, Victoria.
Lord Hindrus.
Not going into first name basis, or even the full entitlement of my house's surname.
I give surnames only to those who deserve my respect, and first name basis to those who are worth my time and respect by earning it. Something that clearly you assumed you would earn it by ransacking my studio.
Ransacking? My dearest Victoria, you're the one who landed yourself in a compromised enough position to the point where the studio is no longer needed for what you formerly...
The council has yet to decide, Asher. Don't brand it with a mark of the snapped with your honey-coated assumptions with your bridled tongue behind your flat snout.
Oh, of course, Lord Rogers. It's a mistake, of course. Tell me a new one, old one. And who do we have here? You, miss. I remember sending the letter to retrieve Miss Rams. My deepest condolences on the crossing of Aberdeen.
Saddened that he didn't die sooner than you hoped. Isn't being the on and off representative of the stewards to the royal family enough? Or is now trying to take Lord Bardak's position your number one goal?
I see that the hunt and re-education haven't snuffed away that spark that only you can set for.
Your point, Hindras?
No need to growl like that or be territorial towards me, Lord Rogers. I just wanted to be a model for those individuals to see how their charges are tested, to see if they are truly reformed, and to see if they are ready to return to serve society as a steward.
Yeah, to model your new custom vets that draw more magpies' attention.
She may carry the skull of Draconis across her back like legendary heroine of old, but what is to say that she won't attempt to do things beyond our understanding that are dreadful, forcing her to seek those who have questionable integrity?
I've cut ties with those people and only kept the ones I trust with my life.
All of them? And what's of your friend? What was his name again? I could never really tell who's who due to the many conversations that he has with himself. Honestly, Victoria, how have you have so many friends with so much stain on them, and many of them are of your
Don't you dare call Barnabas or anyone who contributes as much as he does disposable. You're no more than a dog with the belly of a snake. My friends and my associates are not of your comments or concern.
Temper. This will trigger problematic behaviors in relationship with the council. I suggest that you rethink your response to them at the parole meeting, especially with the pressing questions. Your charges, after all, will be responsible for reporting your actions based upon the observation of your character and what dignity is left in you. Impressive work. I usually don't go for the clean and bleached skulls, but it would make my study look more rustic.
You may have turned my studio into your viper's nest, Hindras, but this skull is for Lord Bardak and the council to see and to decide. You may be an emissary of the royal family for the stewards, and Maker knows why you are still here without real contribution to the people and the council. But that doesn't give you the right to judge me, Hindras. Now, I believe you have fulfilled your job of seeing that I am here and informing the council that I am as such and letting them know where I am at.
Very well. I feel rather honored to be the first to witness that the fire is not fueled by garbage and to see the beauty return to your face, even if it is still beastly. Tame the beast within and keep them at bay. My dear, there'd be no living and working with you with the stakes being so high. I'll see you in 2 hours. Farewell, young novices. Lord Rogers.
Yes, lass. Very enlightening. To my surprise.
I'm surprised he didn't punch him in the nose. Make him relive his pupil days, you know?
I wish I could say no, lad. He and I were both training in the same decision with 2 other masters. I was trained under Rogers, while that sharp-nosed peacock was under Abnon's teaching. Unfortunately, yes.
I wish I could be there for the trial. But there was an emergency in another dimension that set alarms while you were gone. Regardless, you need to keep it down the down low while at the hearing. Capiche?
I told you, I can stand on my own 2 feet as well as lace up the boots on them.
I know you can. But, and as much as I hate saying this, I agree with Hindras.
Excuse me?
You need to keep your ambitions and your emotions in check. You tend to get very jumpy when it comes to tough decisions. I don't know what would be in store after the council meeting, but you need to thank the Maker for having a second chance again. Even so, you have weaknesses. Be wary of them.
Thank you, and I will. You two better get yourselves ready and go to your supervisors. I need to gather and inscribe my thoughts before the meeting.
I have a feeling we'll be meeting up more often, young ones. My office is always open to any of you. And please bring something. Again, I knew I liked you two for a reason. Yes, as long as it's not been vomited on or spat on. I'm a raccoon, I have standards.
That reminds me. Yeah, there. I understand that the missus needs starlight for her famous cookies.
Come in when you smell homemade sugar cookies and you'll see why.
Ah, my new friends. Nothing of importance to you, though being with a tainted artist to oversee. She has so much potential, yet so little discipline. Such innocence and honorable mindsets are highly admired, lass. Sadly, it won't be enough to have either of you climb high in the ranks at this pace. A word of precaution. People like Victoria are like desert flowers, beautiful and inspiring, but are often the most dangerous. Keep her in place, and if any suspicious activities arise, report them through this little journal. Call it security measures. For her, but mostly for all of us to gain. Bold words, young squire. We shall discuss further matters later. Oh, and tell no one of this meeting, my dear novices. You have so much to learn and to lose if you're not careful. After all, curiosity killed the Draconicus. Be sure to keep her in her place. Who knows what she might come up with in that clever and beautiful mind of hers.